On June 25th, 1911, a violent gas explosion ripped through room 217 of a luxury hotel in the Colorado mountains. The blast was powerful enough to destroy part of the building and blow a woman straight through the second floor down into the dining room below. She survived, but guests and staff have reported that she never actually left. Welcome to Dark States, the series where we explore the darkest stories from every state in the United States. Tonight, we're in Colorado, a state of mountains and beauty, and two stories that prove Colorado's most iconic destinations come with a price. It starts with a man racing death. In 1903, Freeland Oscar Stanley, co-inventor of the Stanley steamer automobile, was diagnosed with tuberculosis. The doctors gave him 6 months to live. They told him the dry mountain air of Colorado might help. Might. It wasn't a cure, it was a last resort. Stanley moved to Estes Park anyway. He didn't die in 6 months, he thrived. He lived for another 37 years. And in 1909, to thank the mountains that saved his life, he built a hotel. The Stanley Hotel opened on July 4th, 1909. A Georgian revival masterpiece with electricity, telephones, and running water. All of it nestled in the Colorado wilderness, where tuberculosis patients could breathe clean air and heal. Freeland Stanley and his wife, Flora, a concert pianist, ran the hotel almost like a personal project. Some seasons, Stanley spent more money than he made. Then came June 25th, 1911. A massive thunderstorm rolled through Estes Park, knocking out the power. Stanley, always thinking ahead, had installed gas lanterns in every room as backup lighting. But in room 217, something was wrong. A leak, a slow buildup of flammable gas filling the space, accumulating, waiting. Chambermaid Elizabeth Wilson entered room 217, carrying a lit candle to light the lantern. The explosion was violent. It destroyed part of the hotel's second floor. But here's the part that matters. Elizabeth Wilson was blown through the floor itself, launched downward by the force of the blast, and through the dining room below. She should have died, but she didn't. Miraculously, she survived the explosion. She recovered, and 2 years later, she returned to work at the Stanley Hotel. She stayed there for decades, until her retirement in the 1950s. But something else stayed at the Stanley too. Room 217 became the most requested room in the entire hotel. It books out months in advance. Guests who stay there report their clothes being unpacked by invisible hands, blankets tucked in around them while they sleep, cold spots that appear and disappear, a presence, someone taking care of things, someone who never checks out. In October 1974, a writer named Stephen King checked into the Stanley Hotel with his wife Tabitha and their 2-year-old son Joe. The hotel was closing for winter the next morning. They were the only guests. The corridors were empty. The staff was minimal. King spent the night in room 217, not because of the legend, but because it was available. That night, King had a vivid nightmare. He dreamed of his young son being chased through the hotel by the building itself. A coiled fire hose came to life, corridors twisted, the hotel haunted his child. He woke. And by morning, he had the outline of The Shining, his third novel, one of the most famous horror books ever written. King later said the nightmare came fully formed, which is usually what writers say when they don't entirely know where something came from. But room 217 wasn't the only part of the Stanley holding on to its past. On the fourth floor, which was historically the servants' quarter, guests report hearing children between 2 and 4 in the morning, running, laughing, playing in empty hallways. Guests open their doors to investigate. The hallways are completely empty, and the sound stops the moment someone steps out. In the concert hall, guests and staff have been hearing piano music since at least the 1950s. Live piano, not recorded, not a radio. Someone with genuine skill playing in the dark. When people follow the sound to investigate, the piano keys move on their own. And as soon as someone enters the room, the music stops. That's Flora Stanley, Freeland's wife, a concert level pianist who played that Steinway throughout her life. She died in 1939, but apparently she prefers an audience that keeps its distance. Freeland Stanley himself has been seen in the lobby and the billiard room, his favorite place when he was alive. Guests describe seeing him clearly, a well-dressed man from another era. He walks through the bar, disappearing when bartenders try to cut him off. The Stanley Hotel was saved from demolition by Stephen King's fame. His novel brought tourists, brought attention, brought money. Without The Shining, the Stanley might not exist today. It might have been torn down decades ago. Instead, it was restored to its early 20th century grandeur, and it became one of the most documented haunted locations in America. Every major paranormal investigation show has filmed there. Ghost hunters came from around the world. But what makes the Stanley unusual isn't just the volume of paranormal reports. It's the specificity of what gets reported, the same details across decades, from unconnected witnesses, people who have no prior knowledge of the hotel's reputation, travelers who booked it as a convenient mountain getaway and woke up confused at 3 a.m. to sounds that shouldn't exist. That's the Stanley Hotel, a building that holds onto what it's lost. Now, let's talk about the most beautiful place in Colorado and why fewer than you'd think ever come back down. 300,000 people visit the base of the Maroon Bells every year, but very few climb. This is Colorado's most photographed location. When the autumn aspens turn gold yellow and frame the Twin Peaks at sunrise, reflected in the still water of Maroon Lake, it's hard to believe anything there could be dangerous. The two peaks, Maroon Peak at 14,163 feet and North Maroon Peak at 14,019 feet, rise in perfect symmetry about 12 miles south of Aspen. The maroon color comes from rusted iron in the siltstone. It looks almost impossibly beautiful. But in 1965, something changed how people saw those mountains. 5 separate climbing accidents, 8 deaths, all in a single season. One incident involved a climbing party from Los Alamos, experienced mountaineers. The party included Frank Pretzel, Herbert Ungnade, who was the author of a mountaineering guidebook, Bob Day, and a young club member named William Martin. They were moving quickly, wanting to finish their trip in fewer days than planned. To save time, all 4 were descending a steep snowfield simultaneously on a single rope. Haste had made them careless. Too much slack had accumulated between them. One of them slipped. Because of the slack, the rope didn't catch right away. The weight of the falling climber violently yanked the others from their footing, one by one. All 4 fell 600 feet down the mountain. 3 of them died. Only the young climber wearing the group's single hard hat survived. The 1965 season left such an impression that the Forest Service officially renamed the mountains in their minds. The Maroon Bells became the Deadly Bells, and the deaths didn't stop. The rock is weak, mudstone that fractures readily. A U.S. Forest Service sign on the access trail warns would-be climbers of downsloping, loose, rotten, and unstable rock that kills without warning. In 2010, a 20-year-old University of Colorado student named Spencer James Nelson was hiking the traverse between North and South Maroon Peak with his father and 6 other people. A member of the party knocked loose a rock. It struck Nelson in the head. He was wearing a helmet. It didn't matter. The impact knocked him down the Belcourt Couloir. He died from his injuries. In 2016, a man named Dave Cook disappeared. Cook was a former Marine from Albuquerque, experienced in the backcountry, knowledgeable about mountains, the kind of climber who shouldn't vanish. His plan was simple: climb the Maroon Bells on September 19th, climb Pyramid Peak on September 20th, and he entered the park at 11 a.m. on September 19th. He was spotted on South Maroon at 1:40 p.m. After that, nothing. The search was extensive. Mountain Rescue Aspen sent teams. Volunteers came from Alpine Rescue in Evergreen, Rocky Mountain Rescue from Boulder, Vail Mountain Rescue, Colorado Forensic Canines. They brought helicopters. They lured teams into Favert Basin on the west side of Maroon Peak. They searched the Lost Remuda Basin, the Garbage Chute area at the east of the Maroon Trail, and Minnehaha Gulch near Crater Lake. They found no trace of Dave Cook. No body, no gear, no clothing, no indication of what direction he went or what happened to him. The search was called off. No further searches are scheduled. Dave Cook remains missing. In 2017, a 7-year-old soldier died after a fall, and a 57-year-old woman was found dead near North Maroon Peak. In 2019, a 61-year-old man fell 200 feet and died. In 2020, a 43-year-old head brewer fell hundreds of feet down a gully to his death. At least 10 people have died on the Maroon Bells since 2000. Mountain Rescue Aspen responds to between 10 and 12 rescue operations on those peaks every single year. And here's what makes it worse: no permit is required to climb, no training certification, no experience level necessary. Anyone can drive to Maroon Lake and attempt to summit peaks that have been systematically killing climbers for nearly 6 years. The most photographed mountain range in Colorado also happened to be one of the deadliest. Some visitors come to take pictures, some come to climb, and some of them never come back. A hotel where a housekeeper survived an explosion that should have killed her and stayed so close that guests still feel her presence tucking them in at night. A mountain that's famous for its beauty and equally famous for taking lives. A missing climber who was experienced and prepared and simply vanished away. Colorado doesn't apologize for its darkness. It hides it behind some of the most stunning scenery in America. You see the beauty first, you see the danger second. And if you're not careful, you might be one of those who doesn't get the chance to see either again. Dark States, Episode 6, Colorado. The series continues. Utah, you're next.